over there, yes, that's the original route. Yes, that the ancestors walked
Feel it as well.
from the lagoon jetty.
Hmm.
The ancestors walked on the same path. Now you can see the two pillars over there. Those two pillars are what we used to have there. We used to call it the ark. And Lagos State government came with the idea of building this gallery you're looking at. Okay, but the gallery is not completed at the moment, and we are very hopeful that the gallery will be completed soon.
Okay.
But you see, as soon as the ancestors get to the seaside, they enter into small boats that takes them to the big ship, because the ship don't anchor close.
Oh.
The ship stay far away in the
Lost
waters,
away, okay.
away. So the European merchants will come down in the small boats where they will be received by their collaborators or their partners. Okay, and the enslaved ancestors were taken in batches to the big ship in boats, depending on their numbers. And I would like to use this opportunity to say that when the slave ship go to a particular slave port, it's possible that all the numbers of enslaved people that they want, that they don't get them at that particular port. So it's not as if when they get to a destination, they take all the slaves and from there they go straight to the Americas. No, they go from one slave port to the other till they get the numbers that they want. So they may come from Calabar to Lekki, scouting the slave ports, to Lekki, from Lekki to the port of Lagos, from the port of Lagos to the port in Badagry, from port in Badagry to Port Novo, from Port Novo to Wida, and from Wida they may leave for the Americas, depending on the numbers that the ship can carry or that they are interested in. So it's not as if when they get to a destination, from there they leave immediately. They usually scout different ports till they get the numbers of enslaved people that they want. And now most of the people that were sold, a lot of them have never seen the Atlantic Ocean before. Of course, in our folk stories, they know about it, they know about the big sea, but because they are from the hinterland, it's difficult. Because they are from the hinterland, they have never seen water as big as this before. So when they come around here, it's scary.
Scary.
So, and again,
Even hearing
the sound
of the
and you see,
water
but
now.
they know about it, but they have never seen it, because in the folk stories that they tell at night under the moonlight, they know about the big sea, but they have never experienced it. Some of them have never seen it, some of them have seen it before. Okay, but you see, now seeing water that have life, that's another thing. Seeing water that have water that moves. And we as Africans, we are very spiritual.
That sound.
We know that there are certain rituals we are supposed to do before we enter the water. But you didn't let us appease the spirits of the sea, either male or female spirit. We know that there are spirits all around, and we are supposed to appease them, appreciate them, recognize them before we enter into the water. They didn't allow the ancestors to do that. So it was scary to some of them, but it is what it is. Yet we got to the Americas and we still held on to who we are as a people. But it is important for us to understand that the transatlantic slave trade and its history is something that we as Africans must remember forever. Not because we want to continue to dwell in the sad story, but because so that we don't forget. We have to tell our children our story so that generations to come will organize our society. At times, I wish we could go back 1,000 years back, how we used to live, because there were no beggars in Africa, especially where we are from, in West Africa. There were no beggars because everyone worked the land. We farm, we fish, we do many things, and we are not hungry. We were not hungry. We know who we are, and it was a shameful act to beg. That is why I'm interested in us making further research, documenting who we are as a people, so that our children will know who we are, and a generation will come that will reorganize us and will continue to be who we are. And some of the problems we have in Africa today are not from within, they are from outside. We need to recognize that. They said we sold each other. I'm not from that school of thought. But you see, something happened.
Something led to something.
There were wars. And of course, usually there will be victim of wars.
Exactly.
And the victim of wars, some of them were sold, which is true. But there was need for people to work on the land in the Americas, in the Caribbean islands. And a people came, and they came with guns, with cannon guns, they came with bottle, with gin, they came with all manner of things to entice us, and they gave us guns to fight each other, because they have need for people to go and work on the plantations in the Americas. Some of the African chiefs, I'm not siding them, but some of them don't even know what those they were taking away were used for. Before the Europeans ever left Europe, they knew what they were coming for.
They knew it.
How do I know? When they came with slaving instruments. Some of the slaving instruments you see here in Badagry were not produced here in Africa. They were brought, so the Europeans came with it. The Europeans understudied the Arabs. The Arabs were in Africa for about 1,000. They are still here anyway. But the trans-Saharan slave trade lasted for about 1,400 years or more. Now, the Europeans were here, they say between 300 and 400 years. Imagine a continent that was destabilized for about 2,000 years. What Africans went through, what we experienced, no continent could have gone through all that and still be standing today. That is why when I tell people, I say, I'm proud to be an African. I'm proud to be a black man. Imagine a continent that was destabilized for about 2,000 years. The Arabs were here, the Europeans were here, and they, even now, they refuse to leave. But there is hope for us. What is the hope? For us to continue to share our history among ourselves, for us to continue to tell our story, so that we learn from the mistakes of the past. The transatlantic slave trade is one history that we will never forget.